Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine, and I have decided to vlog daily since the start of this awful war with Russia. By the way, yesterday it was 400th day of this awful war. In my videos I try to update you on important real-life situations in my country, Ukraine, and also to discuss questions that bother all of us. If you're new to the channel, go check the videos, and if you like them, please subscribe, because the world needs to know more about Ukraine. And today in this video you are going to see the angry version of me. I know you sometimes like it because I'm a good and polite person, and sometimes when I express my emotions it looks more alive. But it's bad that I have to express these emotions, and my today's emotions are about the decisions of the International Olympic Committee and general attitudes towards Russian athletes and Belarus athletes that are now allowed to participate in different competitions, international competitions, and that is a very negative signal and actually a very offensive decision for Ukrainian people and for those who support Ukrainian people. Well, first of all, sometimes Russian trolls ask a lot about corruption in Ukraine, and perhaps we have to start with corruption globally. And corruption is a problem in International Olympic Committee. I am convinced. I think it is also a problem in organizations like FIFA, for example. And it is really bad that sport, one of the oldest and most typical for human species spheres of life, is so corrupt and so untransparent. It's not transparent at all. And the decisions are easily influenced, and Russians spend millions, if not billions, of dollars to bribe people. And as a result, we have this kind of decision. Well, first of all, in Russia and in Soviet Union, back in Soviet times, sport was always an essential part of political life, just as Alina Kabaeva is an essential part of Putin's life. She is an Olympic winner, a gymnast, and he is a dictator and a criminal. So sport has always been a part of a totalitarian country, and Soviet Union and modern Russia is an example of an authoritarian regime where propaganda is very much focused on sport and uses sport as means of explanation and demonstration and so on. Well, they were trying in International Olympic Committee to pretend that they don't want to discriminate Russian and Belarusian sportsmen and athletes, and they are allowed to participate with neutral flags, without an anthem, and so on. But this is also fake. I think, I hate when people pretend. Sometimes it's better to be openly bad than to pretend. Question number one: will people on that competitions from other countries not know that these are Russian athletes or Belarusian athletes? They will. All of them will observe, will recognize, identify, and so on. Will it help Russian and Belarusian athletes in their careers? Yes, because they will be able to mention that they've participated, they've won a particular place, and so on. So everyone will know that these are Russian athletes competing for Russian medals. Second, we don't want to discriminate them. Okay, but not giving them an opportunity to participate. But why don't you want to demonstrate solidarity with people of Ukraine and athletes of Ukraine? Thousands of Ukrainian athletes died because of full-scale Russian war in Ukraine. Thousands of sport objects, sports school, clubs for children were destroyed because of Russian missiles. Many of renowned Ukrainian athletes will not participate in competitions because they are in Ukrainian armed forces, fighting against Russian orcs who came on our territory to destroy our country. Why do we discriminate Ukrainians and Ukraine and all of these athletes by letting Russian sportsmen participate? Another thing, okay, you believe that no one will know that these are Russian athletes competing because they don't have a flag or anything on their uniform. You think it will help these people who are totally against Putin, against war? They are like angels, the only good Russians, and they will come and participate and develop sport. Next question. Do you know what happens after these athletes win and return back to Russia? Yes, they will be everywhere together with President Putin, with Z symbols on their sweaters, with Russian flags, and they will be used, and many of them actually want to be a part of active Russian propaganda. You will be surprised, and I'm sure that International Olympic Committee knows that, and people who make this decision know that 85% of Russian athletes, this is official statistics, 85% of Russian athletes are members either of police or of Russian armed forces or other state-run organizations. This is typical for many countries. In your own countries, when you dig deeper, you will see that many sportsmen, many athletes are actually members of police and other like this powerful infrastructures. So we allow Russian armed forces to some extent to represent themselves on the sport stages of the world. When they return back home, they will use these victories to inspire further Russian victories. And we all know that further Russian victories are actually tragedies for Ukrainians and the world. So we give them instruments to demonstrate their power, to demonstrate their strengths, to demonstrate their influence, and to demonstrate that the world does what they want, because they wanted to return back to the Olympics, and voila, they will be there. Also, this International Olympic Committee acted against the reactions of many countries, and Ukrainians are very grateful to the sport committees of these countries. I was impressed by an interview of the Norwegian Minister of Sport, who spoke that neutrality with Russia is impossible and that we have to be in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. And I know that many countries, including Japan and Germany, the United States, were writing, like 34 countries or something, were addressing International Olympic Committee that this decision could not be made. Also, I know that our friends in Poland protested fiercely. And what did they receive? They receive an answer from the International Olympic Committee that if they continue being so aggressive, they will be excluded from the Olympics, but not Russians. Why aren't they afraid to discriminate normal people, normal countries, tolerant things? Why is that so? Why is that so? We care not to discriminate Russians, but to continue killing Ukrainians with the hands of some of these athletes, including. I think this is actually a very big and a very strong offense. And like 85% of them are involved in police, in armed forces, in propaganda. And we give them tools, we give them instruments to become more vivid. We give them tools to bring victories. For example, recently a lady from Russia, if it's possible to say so, a lady, she is a mayor of Russian armed forces, and she was allowed to participate in a fencing tournament in France in 2024. And her first words were, "We will demonstrate our strengths, our victories, and we will fight even more fiercely in these conditions right now." So what is the message that this mayor of Russian armed forces, this is a specific like title, I don't know if you have a correspondence to that, mayor, like it's a higher middle rank military segment. So what is this Russian armed forces representative doing on the international tournament, will be doing on the international tournament, apart from demonstrating the strength of Russian Nazi regime? And in Russia, the head of the Council on Physical Culture and Sport is President Putin. The vice president of the Russian Olympic Committee that actually decides who will go and represent the country on the Olympics is one of the best friends of Putin and an oligarch. Gazprom, which finances many of Russian political things and actually is a like pocket company, is one of the main sponsors of all Russian sport. Their athletes are used on concerts, in politics, in parliament, everywhere, on television. They wear military uniforms on these performances. They decorate themselves with the letters Z and V, which stand for full-scale war, Russian war in Ukraine. And actually, I do not understand how is it possible, honestly, how is it possible that such dark, such corrupt decisions are made. And for the sake of what? For the sake of sport, equality, non-discrimination. And at the times when Ukrainian sportsmen and athletes are killed, infrastructure destroyed, come on, we are not in equal conditions then. We are so much discriminated. We are like one of the most discriminated cultures and countries right now, you know, because we die for the fact that we are Ukrainians. And they are not able to compete because they are run by a new reborn Hitler. I think it's totally okay. And what makes me even more angry is a totally stupid decision. Totally stupid decision. I also judge our Ukrainian politicians too. So this is a totally stupid decision of the Ukrainian Minister of Sport, who banned Ukrainian athletes from participating in competitions where Russian athletes and Belarusian athletes participate, which literally means that they won't be able to compete on many top international championships and competitions, obviously including the Olympic Games, because Russians will be there. So what do we have? Russians are able to represent Russia, Russians are able to compete, Russians are able to win, Russians are able to bring home medals and to use that in their propaganda and build their career, invest in their career, and Ukrainians will not appear on that event, will not be able to win medals, will be forgotten, will not be able to develop their career, will not be able to speak about Ukraine on these events. I don't know what made them make this decision. Perhaps this is a kind of anger or offense, or maybe that was a spontaneous decision. But come on, in politics, and especially during war, it is really bad to make decisions like that. And what do we have right now? We have Russians who came to kill Ukrainians, but not to discriminate Russians while they are busy killing Ukrainians. They may feel depressed from time to time because, you know, that's a difficult task. And they have to be able to feel normal in this world. All the others have to tolerate them. So they have to return to international competitions watched by people all over the world. And they have to be able to demonstrate that Russians are actually strong, not only when killing children in Bucha, but also when running in shorts and white t-shirts. But everyone will know that these are Russian athletes, but they are neutral. They are not Russians. They will not compete for Russia. But like, come on, people, you will not recognize sportsmen from Hungary or Poland because these countries are not that well advertised. You will definitely realize these are Russians running. These are Russians winning. And we don't want to discriminate them. And if Ukrainians are so intolerant, okay, they are killed from time to time, but they are so intolerant that they don't want to compete together with Russians. They don't want to make friends. So weird. Why? And like this, what makes this International Olympic Committee, for example, make this decision? I think only Russian money and Russian influence. And this is so sad that all of us observe and nothing happens. I know some of my subscribers, when I first started talking about that, some of my subscribers advise that no Olympic Games when years are so bad and bloody, and I perhaps support this idea. If we look back into the times of ancient Greece, perhaps Olympic Games were symbolic. They stood for something. They stood for peace. Democracy actually was born in Greece, so maybe we should respect these traditions. But no, we like Russian money, and this is sad. My dad used to say that, like, physical training is good for your health and sport is always bad for your health. So now sport is bad not only for my physical health but also for my mental. Thank you so much for your support and understanding. Let me know, what do you think about these decisions, and will you watch Russian athletes compete? Thank you for buying me coffees and supporting my project. This is really important. I'm very grateful to my patrons, as you inspire the strengths and the ideas. And most importantly, thank you for the support that you give to my country, Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!